Good morning. The Chief Executive will say a few words before we open the floor to questions. The Chief Executive. Good morning. Yesterday was the first day we implemented the new 0+3 arrangement. Things were smooth on the whole, including the situation at the airport and also public transport services. At the airport, there were many heartwarming situations, including Hong Kong residents returning to Hong Kong, hugging with their friends and relatives, and because they haven't met for a while, there was a scene of reunion, and the occasions were filled with joy and were touching. So on the whole, the 0+3 situation or arrangement was well received by the community. Hopefully, with the 0+3 arrangement, social or community activities can resume, and the economic and social situations can improve, and I hope we can remain positive. Hopefully, there will be new momentum in our economy and in the community. But please be prudent, because we have implemented a great change from designated quarantine hotels to abolition of the arrangement. Now that is a big change. The change is going to bring different uncertainties, including now we have to observe whether there is a rebound in our epidemic situation. And under the system, we require testing on different days, and whether inbound travelers are compliant, because we need PCR tests on the 2nd, the 4th, and the 6th day, and also daily RAT tests. We have to ensure that these are complied with in order to control the spread of the disease. And there may be unforeseen uncertainties, and we have to control and manage them properly. And there are also cases of violation, and the community should be vigilant. Incompliance can affect our control measures and bring a rebound in the situation. For instance, green code restrictions have been 40 persons who violated that rule. And for compulsory testing notices, in the past 2 months, there were about 9 to 8% of non-compliance in cases, and we've also taken enforcement action targeting at places with CTNs, and over 1,000 persons have been identified who did not follow the rules. Now, for these people who did not comply with the restrictions, they are being irresponsible in our fight against the epidemic, and it's going to affect our effectiveness of the control measures. So we have to be vigilant. If we are all law-abiding, then the road ahead will be smoother for us. If there are too many violations, then our measures cannot easily be further relieved. And then there are some misconduct. That is a fake medical certificate for exemption of vaccination. We have over 20,000 of them, and I think these have affected our fight against the epidemic. And there are also a fake RAT results declared in order to, in some cases, get sick leave And this is unacceptable and will also bring uncertainties. So we hope everyone can comply with the new restrictions, and we should take note of the trend together. For people who break the rules and affecting everybody, we should condemn them. And also vaccination. We understand that the vaccination rate among the old and the young are not yet desirable. This is particularly so for children, so we should work hard together. With the 0+3 quarantine arrangement, we must be very vigilant to prevent a rebound. We must keep an eye on the overall trend. We need your cooperation in tackling the epidemic. I hope you understand that among our 5 measures, we have a number of principles. First, we must control the case tally to ensure that our healthcare system can cope. So far, we still have 20% of our healthcare services affected. We have to reduce the number of severe cases and fatalities. So vaccination is important. We must protect the young and also the old and also the chronically ill. And we must take a targeted approach and manage different levels of risks. And we must be careful in the management of risk, and we must balance the risks and also the need to keep our economic momentum. So we must proceed very prudently and carefully. Whenever we launch a new measure, we have to look at the effectiveness before deciding whether changes are needed. I'll take questions now. Please use the microphone. We pass on to you. Each reporter should ask only 2 questions, and please identify your media outlet. The lady in blue. Good morning. I'm from TVB. Recently, with the announcement of the 0+3 quarantine arrangement, many people are planning to go to Japan and overseas, and the catering industry is also worried because the new arrangement will encourage people to travel overseas instead of encouraging people to come. So when can we have a 0+0 quarantine arrangement? And yesterday there was the Poland Cook child abuse case, and the Society for Protection of Children and also this Poland Cook, they are for protecting the children, but they have got incidents. What measures will you introduce to protect our children? First, the purpose of the 0+3 quarantine arrangement is to ensure that we have room, the maximum room for economic and social activities under a controlled situation. When we maximize the room for economic and social activities, the purpose is to add momentum to our community. And of course, in the process, some industries may benefit immediately, such as the aviation sector, the transport sector. But for some other sectors, they may have to wait for a while, so that when our economy is vibrant again, they can benefit on the whole. I think we should adopt a positive attitude when we view the economic situation in Hong Kong, because we've only implemented the measure for 1 day. We believe many new activities will come back to Hong Kong, including exhibitions and also business conferences. And the benefits they bring will radiate to different sectors and industries because many aspects of the economy are intertwined. If after introduction of the arrangement, the trend is as expected, and we can control a rebound in the number of cases, of course, we will gradually, with regard to the actual circumstances, allow more room for other activities to take place. But as I said, we must view the data very cautiously, and we will do what is safe and we don't want to bring chaos by introducing another direction. And as for child abuse, now we take such things very seriously, and we are already trying to amend the relevant legislation. More important still is to conduct more inspections. Inspection and management are an important and urgent matter. I hope we can expand the scope of inspections. For instance, we may have independent and trusted bodies in order to boost our capacity of regular inspections. I'm going to ask the Labor and Welfare Bureau to look into this so that whether we can enhance our ability to inspect and check on these institutions.
Next question on the left-hand side.
This is a question from SCMP. So what is your evaluation to the first day of 0+3 arrangement, and is the government going to relax the local social distancing measures, including removing the restrictions on restaurants' capacity, suspending overnight lockdowns of buildings, compulsory screening of residents, and sewage testing as experts suggested? And second, does Shenzhen authorities step up their border control after Hong Kong moved to the 0+3 model on Sunday? So will this affect Hong Kong's negotiation on border reopening with them? And what's the progress on reverse quarantine? Will there be a third meeting with the authorities? Thank you.
The first day of implementation of our 0+3 measures went on quite smoothly yesterday, including the running of the airport and also traffic arrangement. I am very happy to see there were many happy faces, a lot of hugging and greeting, which really impressed my heart sentimentally. After all, some arriving passengers actually indicated that they have not seen their family members for a long time, and they were very emotional. So I also felt emotional when I saw these scenes. I'm happy that people are, in general, very supportive of the 0+3 policy. What is important is for us to, while look at it positively, but also look at it carefully. Because from the day when we required everybody to be quarantined at designated hotels, to yesterday's, which actually means that there was no need for quarantine at a hotel, is a big change. In that big change, inevitably, there will be a lot of uncertainties. Some of these uncertainties are foreseeable, which have been taken into my calculation when I decided to roll out the 0+3 plan. But there may be uncertainties which are not foreseeable. So we have to be careful to monitor the situation to ensure that things progress as we plan, smoothly, orderly, and in a manageable way. So it is important for us to bear in mind why we do have to retain the measures, because we still have around 4,000 cases every day, so it is still a high number, and 20% of our hospital services still taken away because of COVID. And we also have to protect the high-risk group, including the elderly and the very young. And one other important element that I hope people will pay attention to is the non-compliance by the people involved. First of all, we have already had over 40 people who broke the red code when they should stay at the isolation location, and they left. And also, in our compulsory testing notice, we have found that each month there is a rough average of about 8 to 10% non-compliance. This affects the effectiveness of our 0+3 plan, because in the 0+3 plan, we are requiring people to do tests on day 2, day 4, and day 6, and also to do 7-day continuously RAT tests. If they don't do this, the success of the 0+3 plan will not be as effective, because there may be a rebound of cases simply because of people's not complying with what they are required to do. We have to condemn this non-compliance, because it affects every one of us. It affects my plan of looking at possible new areas where we can allow more free activities. And also we have other non-compliances, such as there have been at least 2,500 false medical certificates confirming people's not being appropriate to receive the inoculation. And we have to be ensured that people comply with the things we do, so that we will be controlling the spread of the disease as we plan. So it is important that we will also advocate for people to go for inoculation, particularly the elderly and the young, because the rate is very low. So in conclusion, we have to monitor the situation, be pragmatic, be careful, so that there will not be a rebound of cases which will destroy all the pathway to maximizing activities in society. But we will, when the possibility is there, we will consider what other things that we can roll out. In regard to the measures that have been announced by the Shenzhen authorities, we of course appreciate that the control of COVID-19 is a serious matter in Shenzhen, and we have a duty to cooperate in the overall control of the epidemic within our country. So we'll work, of course, hand in hand with Shenzhen authorities to ensure that the overall effort in fighting the epidemic will be effective. The discussion to make the idea of a reverse quarantine to be located in Hong Kong has been progressing. There have been meetings between the high-level officials of the two places. Discussion is still going on. But of course, the possibility of our reaching an agreement depends on whether we can reach the standard of requirement of quarantine as laid down by the Shenzhen authority, which, of course, is the set of rules that apply to the whole of the country. We are working hard on that, and of course, we will spare no efforts in trying to make this possible. What is important is the idea of reverse quarantine or pre-quarantine is to allow our people from Hong Kong to get into the mainland while conforming to the 7+3 rule, which is implemented in the mainland. The only question is whether we do it in Hong Kong or do it in Shenzhen. So the quarantine requirement remains the same, provided the standard is the standard that is acceptable by Shenzhen. Then the risk of such a person having gone through this process of quarantine will satisfy the requirement in the same way as he has done his 7+3 in Shenzhen. So the concept is simple, and the concept is to conform to a standard which will not increase the risk to Shenzhen authorities. So on that basis, I still think that we should give positive hope to the whole plan. But we will continue to work hard on that. But whatever we do in Hong Kong, a person which go through the process will be independent of the number of cases that we have in Hong Kong. But of course, the aim of to reduce the number of cases in Hong Kong, and so that the risk of the epidemic can be reduced.
時間關係呢，我哋答埋。
In the interest of time, we will take one more question. The lady in white. I'm from Phoenix TV. Now, you're going to deliver your first policy address very soon, and you may increase the target for provision of transitional housing. Given that the epidemic is easing, will you consider using some of the cabin hospital and also isolation facilities for transitional housing? Well, as I mentioned just now, we have just introduced the 0+3 quarantine arrangement. And the effect is positive and is well received by the community. However, we have to consider whether the epidemic situation will see a rebound as a result of the new measure. If the extent of rebound is beyond our ability to cope, then this is not a very good situation. Whenever we introduce a new measure, we have to be very prudent and see whether the outcome and effect is as expected. At first, we required quarantine at designated hotels, but now we have virtually removed quarantine requirements, and this is a big change and will bring uncertainties. Some of the uncertainties can be, some of the effect can be foreseen, but some of the uncertainties can only be identified as we go on. So we will have to monitor the situation after the change. Arriving passengers or travelers, including Hong Kong residents, now we have to check whether they comply with our requirements. If they don't, that may impact on our control of the epidemic. This will sabotage our efforts to control the epidemic and will also increase transmission risks. So for facilities being used for isolation, etc., we will keep in view their utilization, in particular the trend of our epidemic. Of course, we will fully consider whether they can be used for other purposes, but then the use must be in compliance with our plan to control the epidemic. I hope you understand that many experts are saying that in the winter, the epidemic may rebound. And then the seasonal flu is usually active in winter. So we need to keep an eye on a possible rebound in the number of cases. We have to be cautious. And therefore, we will look at the real situation and data, and also the trend of the epidemic in deciding on the use of our isolation facilities. In my policy address, I will give a full account in my housing policy. Thank you.